here. Everybody's waiting to talk to you. All right. Welcome back to the Shop Class Podcast. Tonight we got a special guest dialing in by phone. Tiffany Von Orr.
Love it. Thank you.
All right. Tiffany is very busy. We've had her on as a guest before, and as you know, and what she's working on is amazing. She was a car customizer. She then
I'm still a car customizer.
Hell yeah.
I'm still it.
I feel like you would tell your story better. You want to give us the 1 minute quick update, and then I want to know what you're doing now with the Exploratorium.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. So I'm still the car customizer thing. I'm now in Salinas, California. I'm no longer in Corona. And my boyfriend and I have now gotten the keys to a 5,000-foot facility, and we've turned it into not only a hot rod shop, but also the Exploratory Academy, which is centered around the welding introduction to women and youth. So that part is super cool because it's not only doing that, but it's hosted by the Welding Women Syndicate. So I've brought in an assistant instructor from Welding Women Syndicate. That's Veronica Prado. She's the CFO of the company. And I've had friends from Ireland come in, from Texas. I've had girlfriends from San Francisco come up here. It's been super fun. So
I saw an interview with you with the girl from Ireland. That was really cool.
That was super cool. So she was actually about 3 hours away from me. She was hanging out with her boyfriend. And, you know, anytime I see anybody within like a 5-hour distance, I'm like, oh my God, come to the shop. Even if not, I don't care. Come down. So she made a visit to us, and we went and had lunch. We did an impromptu, talk about the optional welding hood, which was super cool. I've been really interested in it. So it was nice. It was nice to see one of the ladies that I've interviewed, not only just on social media, but in person, which is like the whole point of having the Exploratory Academy is bridging social media to in-person demo now. So that's pretty rad.
That's awesome. It's muted, but I'm showing your interview right now with,
oh my God. That is like the worst picture ever, by the way.
You can't complain. Okay, Tiffany, you can't complain. You asked me. I asked you for photos. You said, "Don't worry, just go for it."
No, I'm not complaining at all. I look like a mushroom.
You're fine. You're absolutely fine.
You're funny.
No, you guys are
a
great.
Mushroom.
It's a great interview because it kind of shows the shop a little bit, and it talks.
Yeah.
And you're super enthusiastic. I mean, come on, you do a really good job of showing the enthusiasm for the trades and for the custom cars. I mean, I'm excited. It's so cool. I think everybody wants to come visit you and try out a class or something. That would be awesome.
Oh man, and the doors are always open. I'm actually coordinating a trip from one of my Canadian sisters to come down to do some TIG welding classes with me out here. So I'm super stoked about that.
And these videos are like early on, right? This is like when you this video is still up, is already a month or two old, right?
Well, I mean, we're really only 4 months in. So we've taken the shop, which was built in 1956, and we had to basically empty it. And remember, I had COVID in January. So I went from COVID to boom, having a freaking brand new shop and all this chaos. So we had to empty the shop, clean up the shop, put our stuff in, and then boom, we went right into teaching and building cars here. So like we really haven't stopped, on top of still trying to hold at least 2 times a month the Welding Women Syndicate interviews, but we've done more so than just the interviews. We've done more in-person stuff. I've given the olive branch, so to speak, to others to hold their own interviews with women just for a fresh perspective, just because I'm completely bogged down here at the shop. And it's a good thing, but yeah, it's time to start leveraging, time and people that I know, because I can't do everything on my own.
Totally. And on the line tonight is we have two, one female welder and we have a female engineer. And we have Riley Flores, and she is a former student. I don't think she was in my class, but she was at the school. We've had her on the show before. She's doing electrical brain research and stuff like this. Like, it's wild. Say hi, Riley.
Hey, y'all, nice to meet you.
Hi, Riley.
Okay, and then we also have
Come here.
I think Angela's still here. Angela's actually taking a welding class with me as we speak. Like, well, not right now, but the last week
This,
and this week, and it's
this
the private.
one.
Yeah, the private lessons in Mr. G's workshop. Angela, are you here? Can you unmute?
Yeah, I'm here. Very excited to be
Hi,
here.
Angela.
Thank you.
Is that the one that you posted up earlier?
Yes, where she was brake testing.
Okay,
Well.
right on. Yeah, that's so cool.
She did such a good job. I would like to take credit for teaching her, but she just started she started running experiments. She's like, well, if I travel at this speed and I do a weave, a crescent weave pattern, it seems to work pretty good over here. Let me try she's already running.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that. You know what? That's how you learn, is just by doing it. You know what I mean? You never know if it's going to work unless you actually do it. That's so smart. I applaud you on that.
Totally. And it's not easy because it's a flux core welder and that thing spatters everywhere. So tomorrow, Thursday, she's going to use gas. And
oh, sweet.
Yeah, I show them both, but I show them the hard way, first, obviously.
Sure.
Because then when they hit the gas, they're going to look at me and say, you're joking, right?
Why didn't you show me this before? Right. Yes,
Totally.
It's like showing
really
them
mean
60-10 before
stick welding
70-18.
Exactly.
I love it.
And we got a whole bunch of people here as well. We got some shop teachers and some tradespeople. So Mark Willie's on the line. He's into Passive House and he works with in the buildings and trades. He's got his hand raised. Mark, how you doing?
No, I just wanted to see what I missed because, all of a sudden, people were laughing, and I missed something. What did I miss?
Well, you just got here.
I'm always laughing.
So tonight we have Tiffany Von Orff. She's a welding instructor and car customizer. She just opened up a shop where she invites in, focused on women in the trades to bridge the gap. But she's got her own show and whatnot. And then we also have we have students on the line as well. He's applauding. Mark is applauding.
I love it.
Cool. And then we also have Nick is a tech ed teacher in upstate New York. And we also have Duke, middle school shop teacher in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. We got Al from upstate New York as well. And then I think one of my current high school students is on the line as well. And he's into
You
welding.
have such a rad lineup. This is so cool.
Oh yeah, this worked out. Well, you're the attraction.
Knock it off.
Yeah.
I hate being the center of anything.
No, don't worry. Christopher Estrada. Christopher, are you there?
Yeah, right here.
Okay, Christopher's too cool for school, so he's like, yeah, I'm here.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me well?
Yes, there you are, man. So Christopher's in my class. He's been welding the whole year. He's kind of like our welding specialist. So some of the kids are cutting and using the milling machine and getting parts ready, and then they clamp it up, and then Chris comes in as the hired gun. He's like the guy. He comes in and he welds it.
That's so rad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So you know what I noticed about you guys? You guys are all East Coast, right? So the majority of you have shop classes out there, which just blows my mind because there's not very many of those on the West Coast.
Oh no, you're correct. The problem is here too. You're just
really?
You're looking at everyone coming together. Believe me, the town to the left of me, the town to the right of me, they're all gone. And so that's the reason for the Shop Class podcast. And I would say, yeah, probably really good, that you and I are doing these private schools because there's nowhere for these people to go. There's nowhere to go.
No.
Yeah. Are you finding that out?
Oh yeah, I talk to you guys all over the country, and I've noticed that. There's a handful, and I see more on the East Coast than I definitely see on the West Coast. And that was part of the reason, because that's the lack of introduction. You know what I mean? We have this huge gap to fill. And
Yep.
I mean, you see it primarily for men, and I'm not going to be all men hating. Trust me. My shop is open to everybody. It's just centered around, obviously. But
Oh yeah.
that's the thing, is there's no introduction. And even if there is going to be an introduction, who's going to do it? Are the parents going to be prepared to do that? No, probably not. You know, there's not always resources. So we want to have a really good introduction, so that I'm not trying to take away from the schools, but I want to have a place where they can come, be fascinated, and be more intrigued to go further in their career. You know what I mean? Give them a really good start. I definitely did not have a good start. You know, I was basically handed the MIG torch and said, do it, you know, start building some stuff. And that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. I did it,
Yeah.
but it's not. And there certainly aren't any women doing it. You know what I mean? It's a very, very small handful.
Oh, 100%. And even in the schools, I found that, you know, the guidance counselors, they don't know. You know what I mean?
No.
They went to college for something, probably, no offense to them, but not as hardcore as engineering or mechanics or something like that, or trades, or, you know, they got a book degree. And so they come in and
Right.
they're not going to encourage the girls to go into the trades because they don't know. But meanwhile, the top person, the president of the company for Elon Musk's rocket company, the president is a woman, and so like they don't know that. So I go into the offices all the time and I give them examples. I say, hey, the best people at NASA are female engineers. The girls who come to my class that do welding are awesome. So things are coming around, and now.
Sure.
But then you got to be careful what you ask for. So now I have more women in my class than ever before. And the silly factor is through the roof. You know, these girls are having a good time. And so I'm like, oh my God. So,
yeah, you're almost out of your depth at some point.
yeah.
But, it's not a bad thing, because almost, from the time that men are born, they're introduced to automotive. They're introduced to mechanical skills. They're introduced to whatever their fathers usually, are doing in their garage, or they have, resources to do. And it's very rarely passed on to the women. And that's why it's nice that I was in the position to do this, because not only am I teaching, I'm also building stuff. Like I have a 1940 LaSallian right now. And the people, not only women, but guys are like, you're doing that? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that. And I'm doing this and I'm doing this. But then I also do that, and they're like, what? And what it does is change the whole narrative, like, oh my God, a woman can do it. Of course we can. It's not rocket science, bro.
Definitely. Which car is yours? We're looking through the photos right now. Is it the blue one?
Let me see. I don't have anything done myself. The ones that you may see, that's a 62 Corvair Wagon. Is that the blue one? Is that a wagon?
Let's see. It's going fast, so it's hard to see. There's a lot of cool stuff. You went to some museum where like it looks like you're going back in time.
Yeah. That was fantastic. That was actually an anniversary party for my boyfriend's car club. And so he's in the 61 Plymouth. And it's the brown Plymouth, big, long, bullet-looking car, top. I don't have anything done myself. I have a 62 Corvair Wagon that one day, when I can move the cars aside, that I'll actually be able to work on it. But
Corvair Wagon, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So wait, is the engine in the back?
Yes.
But on a wagon? That's wild.
Yes, it is in the back. So we have some interesting plans for it one day. You know what I mean? So we will see what happens.
Oh, that's cool. I was just at a car show with my friend on Monday for Memorial Day, and he brought his Corvair, and it's a nice one. It was red and whatnot. This is it right here, and he took home an award. So I didn't realize they made a station wagon version of that.
Yeah. And it actually, as it sits right now, you could sell it for like $12,500, and we're gonna do some inappropriate chopping to it. So
nice.
and I'm gonna put custom air ride suspension, and I'm gonna throw in a welder. So there's going to be a whole bunch of interesting plans going on with that wagon.
Oh, that's cool.
But we are landlocked in the shop right now, so I have the LaSalle leaving tomorrow. Hopefully, I can finagle a way to bring it in and put it in one of the spots, because we have 7 cars in here at the moment, and it's car show season. It's like peak, so.
Whoa, that's a lot.
What size engine does your Corvair wagon have?
Say it again?
What size engine is it on the Corvair
I
wagon?
have no idea. Baby, what size is the Corvair wagon? What motor is in it? It's a 6-cylinder, but yeah, we don't know nothing about the Corvair. I've never even knew there was a wagon until we got our hands on it.
I think it's the only
and
one.
We've seen those 2 doors. It runs nice. I mean, it doesn't go very fast, but
that's awesome.
we could change that. We could definitely change that.
So you guys are gonna chop it?
I'm not gonna say nothing yet.
Okay.
We're gonna be hated for it.
Oh yeah, because
that may be in the works.
The Corvair purists. Oh my God.
Yes. As soon as I posted a picture of it, I was getting invites to shows and this and that, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna completely like hate me after they see the rendering of what's gonna happen to it.
Oh, who's doing a rendering? Is it like hand drawn?
No, well, no, it's not hand drawn. It'll be computer done.
Oh, that's cool. No kidding.
Yeah.
So I got questions about your and if anybody has questions, just put it in the chat or just chime in, no problem. It's not formal. But I got questions on how you went from like you started this women's welding syndicate, which is like a show and Fridays, and then you opened up the shop. This is a big deal. Like, and
it was insane.
Yeah, that's
it's absolute insanity. Well, you know what? It basically, I had been looking to have another shop, and I was looking in the SoCal area where I was originally at, and real estate is insane there. So I ended up
bonkers.
Yeah, it's insane. So with the building that I have right now, it would be between $5,000 and $10,000 a month. And that's just holy moly, yeah. And I'm only paying a fraction of that, which is super nice. So I ended up relocating, and part of the relocation was like, I don't just want to do, just a shop. I know that there's a need for the introduction of welding, and I wasn't too happy with my my last station. I mean, I loved it, but there was just a lot of things. The HR they don't necessarily know anything about welding, so there'd be some instances where I didn't have gas or metal or, consumables. And I would literally be having friends. They would send stuff to me to hold these classes. And I'm thinking, holy moly, why isn't the importance placed on certain things? And it's primarily because they don't know, what goes on within these classes. It's just their job, and I really started looking for like places to hold a bigger class. And I was already doing private lessons like out of my house, and I would actually go to location. I mean, I've been to people's businesses and their homes to teach them, and I wanted more, and so this building provided the opportunity to do so. And it's amazing, and it was cool because I started reaching out to women locally who had already been part of the Welding Women Syndicate. And they were completely in, like even people not local, out of Texas or, out of Canada or out of New York, like they're all waiting for me to be like, come down, let's schedule a time, let's do a class, because it's so important to show that visibility of women not only coming together, but teaching, because it changes the narrative and it shows other women that they could do it and not just weld and have a job, but own the business and create the schools, provide a better introduction into welding.
Yeah, the demand is huge. That's great. So would you like? I used to go to people's houses. Did you throw the welder in the back of the car and go over there and teach classes?
I literally have done that. Oh yeah, I mean, it's funny because we went to a car show this past weekend, and my girlfriend Veronica, who came with me, she literally had her welder in the back of the car because we took a chaser car just in case something happened.
Oh.
And, they're all old rides that we were going with. And she had a welder in the back of her car. She literally came from one event here at the shop, had the welder still back there. And I was like, let's go. Who knows? It'll work if in a pinch if we have to do any type of repair.
There you go. Exactly. That's funny. You're not just bringing a spare tire. You're bringing the spare welder.
I know we're bringing the welder. I mean, it's funny because I was like, well, we don't have gas, so we're going to be stick welding something. So we just kind of laughed at the idea of it. But I've done it before, I actually stick welded one of the mounts that I have on the LaSalle because it was a 1/4-inch plate that I made this mount for the stabilizer bar. And there was no access to get to it with the MIG welder. So I was like, I love stick welding. It's big metal. Let's do this. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So do you want to run through the classes that you offer?
Sure.
Give us an overview. What's it like if someone wanted to take lessons that you're at the Exploratory Academy?
So the Exploratory Academy right now, we have the one that everybody has been to now. It seems to have gotten a lot of kudos, I guess, is the Welding Then Wine. It's just, and we call them events. This one's an event. So what it is they get to have the grand tour of the shop. They come in and they get a hands-on demo of building a wine holder, and then afterwards they have wine with friends. And in between, we don't give them too much because obviously we want them to come back, but we're showing them technique, and then we're telling them what the process is good for, and it's giving them a really fun introduction to welding so that they come back and do something called the signature class, which is called the Exploratory Academy. And that's 3 processes, and then less of the fun and wine, more of the technique and hood time, which is very important. And then we also have private lessons, and that's any process. Plus we have Mommy and Me, which I haven't held that one yet, but we are holding another one. It's called Welding Then Whiskey. So I had one of my guy friends who saw that, we had a ladies lowrider club come through to do the Welding Then Wine. And he was like, do you have something more man specific? So we're like, well, Welding Then Whiskey. And it's funny because I have had girls that are like, yes, we're going to do that as well. But what we want is just people to come in and have a good time and have a good introduction so that they want to come back for more, or they want to go to local classes and do more, So when I did it, I mean, I loved being in the shop. So I was probably not a very good example. But if someone's just going to hand you the MIG gun or be told to, just weld this up, you're not going to want to go back. It's very intimidating. There's so many technical aspects when it comes to welding. If you don't have a fun introduction or someone who's willing to guide you and not criticize you, they're not going to come back. So we've made these really cool events for people to attend. And we don't have it just, right now we're in the middle of car show season. So we had to wait for this weekend. And I think not this week, but the weekend after. I may be wrong. I have to look at the schedule. We're going to be holding the Welding Then Whiskey. So
Nice.
That should be fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. This is great. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, well, I was going to say the old days, but it's still current is, I took some trade school classes, and basically what it is, you walk into a place and it looks like a prison, and,
Right.
it's like worse than a school. And then the guy running the class, he definitely knows how to weld. He looks like he's like a Hell's Angel or something, and he knows how to weld. And the guy's cool. You definitely want to get a beer with this guy. But then when it came to teaching, it just wasn't there. He just says, go in the booth and weld. And I'm like,
that sounds like my college experience.
Yeah, I remember one time I was having a lot of trouble with an aluminum, welding aluminum. And so I asked the guy to come in. I said, look, you just watch me? Because he wasn't really teaching anything. And I said, I brought him in the booth and I said, hey, just watch me weld, because I feel like I'm doing something wrong. And he actually did give me some good lessons. What happened was I was making mistakes, but still trying to force the weld, just keep on going. And there was he's like, if once you contaminated the TIG welder, just stop. You got to clean it. You got to stop, And that was a good advice. but it's because I'm a teacher and I knew that like to bring him in so he could like he's not gonna make it fun. He's just gonna be like, just get in there, like so.
And see, I know we have the fun factor. Like when you walk in, it's almost like Alice in Wonderland because I have arrows saying, don't go this way, take a selfie here. And there's like little vignettes of like wine holder stuff. There's candles lit. There's a pretty bathroom. It smells good. There's music going. It's like a total boutique session, but it's in a hot rod shop, and then it's just girls there, which is so weird. Like you walk in, you're like, oh, this is a rad shop. Where's the guys? There's no guys. This is run by women, and so like they look at you and then you drop that hood and you definitely know how to weld. And they're like, what? And you gently guide them, let them do their thing, give them some tips. And they're like, when can we take the next class? And I'm like, yes. So I definitely have the knack for teaching. And I learned that a long time ago. So it probably has something to do with having kids. I have no idea. But it's certainly a fun time when you come here.
That's awesome.
I never even thought about that. Having like a woman's touch area in our shops to make the girls feel more comfortable taking our classes.
Well, imagine it's super intimidating. And this is just me being at different, like my first shop, like nobody wanted to go into that bathroom and it was filthy and there wasn't any women until I got there. So no woman wants to go in there because you just think, for one, the man's probably going to be rude. He's going to probably like browbeat you into submission, into paying for something that you don't even know about, right? And then it's an intimidating place. And although we still talk to them in a technical way, we tell them what we're telling, like, this is what we're telling you. This is what it means. This is how it works in a very non-intimidating way. Because sometimes when you've been in it for a while, you start talking and you're getting down to, the gauge of metal and the settings, and people look at you like, what? Oh, hold on. You forget, back up a little bit. Like, these are people who don't know anything about anything. So you have to talk to them like they're the novice and forget that they're not your peers. And you just make it a fun way, and I've made it so that it's a cool environment as well.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that. It's true. I don't really think about that too much. I just kind of like leave the shop.
That's because you're a man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We make it.
It's true.
We make it a welcoming environment, but by talking to them, not in an aesthetic way. Like I think about my shops and everything's, it just has a boy look to it, and that's just how they were built.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have any
over the past? Go ahead.
Oh, do you have any videos or anything that I could pull up of kind of like a tour?
Well, you can see. I have. It says what happens when you invite the sisters to your syndicate. So it kind of walks through like from opening the door of the shop to the welding room.
Oh, I got
it. And it has like the main space. Okay, that's probably the best one. And then what's another one?
Oh, you have a milling machine. You also have machining capability.
Yeah, there's a bridge pour here, and we have metal spinning machinery. There's a lathe here. There's lots of stuff here. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So originally this building was a machine shop, and then it was a performance shop, and then it was a clutch shop. So a lot of the stuff is actually still here.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's great.
You're just gonna have to come over so we can make our own video.
All right, yeah. I'll be there in early July, so I'll come up there.
That's right. You were just in San Diego, right?
Yeah.
That's so rad.
Oh, I love it over there. And
I was working over there. I'm so bummed that I wasn't working. One of the times I actually wish I was still working over there.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I'll be back out there. We'll coordinate something. It'd be cool to do, come visit you, do a little shop tour.
We'll do a class. We'll even take it a step further. Make some time. We'll do a class, man. That would be rad.
Let's do it. That would be awesome. I'm always looking to learn. We could do a project together, a little class project or something.
Ron teaches people how to weld with their finger in a cup of water. I've seen it.
Hey, we can do the Corvair, but electric.
Oh, hell yeah. That thing would be so cool. Although now
I've been watching what you're doing over there.
That would be awesome. The thing is that it's just another option. The people sometimes you don't know how they're going to react to the electric. Sometimes they get into it,
Sure.
and then sometimes they're like, I don't want that thing. But I'm like, it's just like adding a turbo. It's like something different. It gives you another way of powering the car. Type of thing. That'd be
But
cool.
you make it fun. You know what I mean? That's just like my classes here. If you do it in a way that's not intimidating and you're not too forceful, you're just like, this is what I'm doing. Come and join me. Like people like that. They want to be able to make their own opinions on things.
Totally. Exactly. And failure's part of it. Like, on purpose, we like blow fuses and we break motors and stuff. And we just, because otherwise it's hard, imagine just doing it book learning, like, like, come on.
Well, that's just like your student doing her little scientific test. Like, that's how you learn what does and does not work. Like, I do it all the time. I'll say it, like, I don't know, do it. Like, you won't know unless you do it. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't know something, who knows? Just do it. You know darn well we can fix it. So, like, who knows? Try it out. Like, I don't know.
Exactly. So, how many people do you have in the class? Generally,
we do a 10-to-1 ratio. I seem to like that when I was teaching in college. They broke it down to 10-to-1 for students during COVID, and I really, really like that. It's 2 people per machine, and so one will be will be welding, and then one will be able to watch, and then you swap out. So I really like that. It's easier to have more one-on-one. I've seen it where, there's like in my college days, I had 25, 30, 50 kids in the class, and they're standing around wasting their time, and just, it's insane. So I really like that, and it fits perfectly for our space. So I like that, and I'm going to keep it that way. I mean, obviously, there's other opportunities to do like corporate things where it's mostly mixing and not necessarily the welding. So I've like reached out to different companies to do stuff like that. So that's also a thing because it's a big enough facility. But for teaching, the teaching part, it's a 10-to-1 ratio. And it's cool because now I have this assistant instructor. So she actually adds another, and she didn't even know she wanted to teach. And I was like, just do it. Try it. It's no different than training. You have any questions? I can help you. I'm right here. There's no wrongs. Like, we're not certifying here. We're just introducing. And if they want to go further, there's other classes that we could follow up with.
Nice.
So that part's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I do like what you're saying about 2 people to a welder because surprisingly, not to you, but just in general talking about it, is that you do want to watch your friend totally mess it up so that you have a chance to breathe. Yeah. You need a chance to breathe. And
well, not even that. It's nice just to watch. You know what I mean? Even if they don't mess up and you're going to do it a little bit different, like, hold on, let me stand differently, or let me watch their manipulation of whatever process they're doing, or, whatever. It's nice to actually be able to watch. And clearly a teacher can't be in every single booth all at the same time, but it's nice that they're learning together, and that helps to reduce the intimidation factor. Because if you're standing there by yourself, like, how intimidating is that, right? We do not want any intimidation here.
Yeah, totally. Basically what goes on is that it's hard to see the weld. That's the biggest problem I come across with the students. And, if they don't know what they're looking for while you're welding, there's so much going on that you need to relax. So you could just like watch your buddy weld, and then you can kind of be like, oh, I see what's happening. And then they talk about it. So they talk about it over one welder. I totally think that's a good ratio.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's get to, I think probably would be really helpful is maybe stories of like trying to find your way in the industry. So I know Angela. Yeah. So Angela is, she's a career changer. Angela, you still around?
Yeah, right here.
Okay. So forgive me if I'm jumping ahead and introducing you here, but basically, Angela was going to college for something and she decided, well, maybe this is not the right path. So she hit the brakes and now she's like, well, let me try this route. And so she's probably got some questions, and maybe what kind of advice would you give someone starting out? What I think the question would be like, what options does she have? And is that a good question for you, Angela?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was going to ask.
All right. So what options does a young career changer have? Like I was like union, or maybe fabricator, or maybe, it depends, so what would you say, Tiffany?
What process are you going into? Are you learning them all? Do you have something that you're particularly like in tune with?
I'm really just trying to test the waters here. I know that I definitely like the process of just welding as a whole. Stick and MIG really speak to me. But
just so you know, she's done stick with me last week. She's real new to this. And this week she's doing MIG. And then I'll probably have a TIG class in the summertime at some point. I just don't have that right now. So
oh my God. The sky is the limit. I literally did not know anything about welding when I first walked into the shop that I co-owned after a year. And I went from basically shop girl, which is, the whole handle that I've had for such a long time, to I was basically cleaning the shop as an apprentice, to hand me that wrench, to building the actual suspension at a custom automotive shop, to designing it, to owning it after a year and a half. So like your options, if you come in as just an apprentice, which is, I always suggest this to everybody, come in as an apprentice, whether it be pipe welding, whether it be stick welding, structural, or if you're doing automotive, any type of welding, go in as an apprentice and just see, because maybe you want to be an ambassador for a company. Maybe you want to go and take more classes to become an engineer. Maybe you want to do, underwater welding. There's so many options out there. Like the sky is the limit. Trust me. When it comes to welding, there's so many different sectors that you can go to. You can go into robotics engineering. You work for NASA, like there's so many things. You just get the hood time, see which process sings to you, what you're naturally capable at, what you're comfortable at doing. I actually went to school for TIG welding. I absolutely hate it. I had 8 years of MIG welding under me, and doing automotive fabrication, and I learned stick welding, and I started working for air gas. I was doing structural. I absolutely love big, heavy metal, but it doesn't necessarily have a place in my world. I love automotive. I love building cars, and you don't get to have too much heavy metal when it comes to automotive. Most of it's fine, thin gauge metal, really small metal, unless you're building frames, and it's still not that big. But, I would say also learn all of them, learn all the processes, don't cancel anything out, because you could be like me and, go to school for one thing and whoops, your career changes, you start teaching structural, and then you come on back and you end up opening a school. Like I had zero idea that this was going to happen. Zero idea. It took 13 years, but I've had so many different cool niche jobs, from teaching to structural welding to private lessons to small little TIG lessons, like aluminum work on cars. Like I've done a lot of different things, and I still come back to the stick, although I don't necessarily need it. That's part of the reason why we have the welding than wine, because I could stick weld. But the shop is mostly TIG and MIG.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Angela. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that your story is amazing, and it's definitely giving me confidence, just even looking at trades as a whole. But
and find a mentor. I really suggest find a mentor. They can help reduce the intimidation factor, so that that you are not alone. That's the reason why we built Welding Women's Syndicate, because there wasn't a company I could go to ask the questions without feeling stupid. And then you build up a little tribe of women who weld. And then it's not only women now, there's businesses, there's men, there's young people. We've built a whole movement, of something that I needed when I first got into the welding industry. So find a friend that may want to weld with you at home, or you guys can go do jobs together, or just hash it out. That's not going to look at you like you're crazy, because that does it reduces your chances of being in the industry. We want retention here. And I guarantee you will find something that you love in welding, even if it's not just primarily welding. There's something for everybody. There literally is.
Something that she's just getting started, but what's kind of cool is that there really are a lot of opportunities around here. So there's robotics company in Boston, and they have female welders working there. There's
so rad.
Yeah. So I agree. She's, I can help her, guide her, but I think, she probably needs a female mentor that's in the industry. I agree with that. I can help you.
I've talked to women all over the world. So if you actually go to Welding Women Syndicate, there's literally one of everything. There's robotics, there's business owners, there's teachers, there's students, there's the main pillars of Lincoln Electric, there's the companies out of Canada. We have people in Ireland who are not only teachers, but also pipe welders. Like anything and everything you could think of, I've interviewed them, or at least I've tried. Artists, that's what they do for a living. They literally create art for a living. It's so rad.
Wow.
Just do your research, go and find what really sings to you, and then follow those people, make friends with them, talk to them. The majority of the welding industry are very, very cool, and they will definitely accept your questions. They may not get to you very quickly, sometimes that happens, but I have seen generally, I just reach out to anybody. I do not care. I really don't. And the majority of the time, I have not been disappointed. I've either gotten the interview, gotten the questions. Some of my best friends are like the coolest people in the industry. And it was only because I needed like a question on a test in college, or how to do a setting for aluminum, or what do I do for this? People, they want to help you. They don't necessarily always have the people skills, but they will help you in their, own individual way. Guaranteed.
I've got your YouTube channel pulled up here, Welding Women Syndicate. I didn't realize you've got all your interviews.
Here. So my girlfriend out of Canada, she actually translates them from Instagram to YouTube. I don't think she has all of them. She's been busy painting and welding, and she also holds classes. So I know she just logged in the other day. She's supposed to be downloading a few more, but everything that we do on the Syndicate on Instagram also goes to YouTube. And then once every, 1 or 2 months, I throw it into the podcast, and then it also goes to LinkedIn. So, and I have TikTok. So I have something for everybody.
Wow.
I'm a nightmare.
No, that's great.
Check this out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Angela, these interviews are really good. I've tuned in a few times, and it's great. She's got really good guests, and I'm actually curious about this stuff too. There was a female technician working for a welding company. I was listening to that one, and I think I started this automation one. I didn't finish it yet, but these are great.
Was that the Lincoln one?
I think so. Oh yeah.
Oh, that was so good. I was so scared during that interview because it was like, we're talking about our titles and what we do. And it was not affiliated. They just happened to all be working for Lincoln. And one of the guys were asking him what his region is. And he was like, basically the world. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like talking to the gods of welding right now. And they were so rad. They were so humble. And like, they had so many gems. Like, I go back to it often, and I keep it on my phone just to watch it because they're so cool. And they follow up, like emailing me because I had questions about certain things,
That's awesome.
Super, super awesome people. Well, because automation and robotics is not something you necessarily see, and you certainly don't see women. So they kind of shed a little bit of light onto it just so that I could gain a little bit more visibility for the people that watch the show.
Totally. That's awesome. This is great. Now, Angela, you got any other questions that came up while we're talking about it?
Not necessarily, but I'll pop them in the chat if I come up with them.
All right. So now we also have Riley Flores on the line. Is she still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Do you, as an engineer in college, do you come across, so wait, let me just prop you up a little bit. So Riley doesn't just study book smart stuff. She actually runs the. She's like a mentor in the maker space at Brown.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so she's got a lot of hands-on skills, and she makes stuff for the shop and whatnot. Now, Riley, have you learned welding yet?
Yeah, so actually, we really don't have much welding here, unless you're on the car team. We really don't have much welding. Like that's not something that's really offered to our general members. I wish it
Okay.
was. That'd be great.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, like I know I had taken like a shop class before, like as a course. They actually offer some classes to learn about like lathes and all these other different machines, but nothing on welding. I really wish we did though.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, well, I know you moved up to Boston area, but if you're down here, you got to take one of my classes. I will get you up to speed. And
Honestly, yeah, I'm still in Providence right now, but I'll be here hopefully later in the summer.
we got to do this before you're famous and working at NASA somewhere. We'll never hear from you again. We'll be like, oh, she's you know.
I always remember home, always remember my roots.
All right.
That's so
pretty cool.
rad.
Yeah. Let's see. So now we also have Andrew is a shop teacher in close by.
Yay!
Yeah. Andrew, you on the line?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
This guy is great. Andrew wins all kinds of awards for being a shop teacher, and he just won the Harbor Freight Tools for Schools prize, where they.
Oh, that's so rad. I know. I entered it like 3 years ago for one of our classes. That's so rad.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. That's a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah.
And-
Yep.
and-
And then
So what do you teach during your class?
welding. I'm a welding teacher.
Yes, even better. That's so awesome. Congrats on that.
Yep. So yeah, I do a lot of project-based learning. So any sort of project I could get into the shop, I get it in there and I have the students work on it. And I try and make it more of a shop environment where we get it in and we get it out as quickly as possible.
I
Kinda
love
like a
it.
regular shop would work, which
Sure.
others.
You're getting them ready for work, basically.
Yeah, other classes don't necessarily do that. Like you drop something off.
Sure, it's just good
auto
time,
or-
and they're welding coupons.
Yeah. So, I welded coupons for 2 years of my life in high school,
And you're done with that.
and I'm really good at welding, but it's
I like that. That's a really good way to engage the mind, have them further look into what they want to do in their career because they get something accomplished.
yeah, exactly. And at the end, like we did a big smoker this year, some of the seniors,
Right on.
and we worked with we dropped it off at Culinary, and Culinary did like a quick couple day thing on how to smoke different meats and stuff, and then they had us come up and we ate the food that the smoker cooked, and we're gonna have another type of like event coming up next week, so using the
That's
smoker.
just a cool collaboration. I love that.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you don't know, the James F. Lincoln Foundation or whatever,
Mhm.
at the end of the year, depending on what you teach, you could submit different projects and win money. So the students in the past, they'll use their senior projects and submit those, and then they'll win. Well, they win or they don't win, but they could win money from the foundation. So last year I had a
That's
student
so
come
cool.
in second place in the region, and he got a
Mhm.
check in July for $250 for just
Well, that's cool.
converting a couple things and then submitting his senior project to another company and then winning money.
That's
Nice.
so rad. I took part in the Skills USA program when I was in college, and that was a really cool program as well. I like those type of collaborations that give kids incentive to not only just, weld on coupons, but to actually do something tangible. That's a really cool collaboration. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And then we did skills as well. I mean, I think Skills is a good platform to get students ready, especially with like competition, because in welding, everything's a competition.
Absolutely. Even if it's just by yourself.
Yeah. But I mean,
You
like,
know?
getting them ready for a job, they're all friendly in the shop. And then like you talk to people and like your friends in the shop, but as soon as you know, talk to the boss is like, hey, Jimmy over there has better output than you guys, or
Yeah.
so Jimmy got a raise. He didn't tell
There
you.
you go.
He got it 6 months ago, and you guys are just hanging around buddy, and then all of a sudden, you know, you're like, I want a raise. I do more than Jimmy does. Like, so like everything to get a job is a competition, and like anywhere really,
Absolutely.
but welding is really, it's easy to see who's good, who's not, and your work ethic.
Definitely.
So
Definitely. I think it's important to not only have, like, I have a cool atmosphere here, but there's no nonsense. I am not necessarily the nicest person. I expect the best. You know what I mean? And I want that out of anybody that comes into the shop. And even if it's just myself, you know, the instructor that I come in or that comes in to help, the students, and I'm like, and I always tell them, your name is now attached to whatever you're welding on. So you want to make sure it's the best that you could ever put out. And they look at me and I'm like, and I'm serious. Even if it's just a welding test, you know, imagine, I always have them imagine it's a building. And what if that building cracked on something that you just didn't place importance on? I go, and then now you just killed 3,000 people. And they're like, oh my God. You know what? I'm like, I'm serious. Always make sure you put your best foot forward. And they're like, okay, well, this is serious. Always make sure that you think that this is something structural, something that's going to be x-rayed. It's very important.
Andrew, do you have girls in your workshop in the high school?
I have one in my junior class this year.
And that's
I've
one
had
out of how many?
30.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I mean, she's in the morning class, so it's a smaller class. In the past, I've had to grow the program, and usually within my junior or senior class, I'll have one girl. I have never had more than one, but she is an advocate for welding and being a female in, you know, a blue collar trade. Because even on tours and stuff, when other like we have sending districts that come, she'll kind of jump in and talk about welding and everything and all that stuff. And like some of the girls that aren't necessarily interested in welding or in any of the shop trades, she'll just kind of pop up and start talking about how she enjoys, you know, the work and what they do and what we do in our shop. So
I love it. I love it. Awesome.
That's great. Cool. But yeah, it's difficult because the girls aren't usually, you know, pushing that direction. So even if you got a good program going, it's kind of hard sometimes. What do you suggest, Tiffany? What do you suggest you do as we should do as shop teachers besides talking to the guidance counselors? What can we do to make the shop more attractive? What do you think we should do to get more girls welding?
I think visibility is key. So if you have, you know, a woman in any of your classes, not only praise her, but if you have any type of social media platform, post it. Because I've noticed that a lot of colleges and high schools, they have a lot of welding programs, but you don't see the women, and not necessarily just single them out, but post it and show them that you're proud of them, and so that other people can see it, because social media is key. Everybody's on it. And then when those other girls come in, make sure that there's less intimidation factor. You know, you've been in the business for, you know, 10, 20, 30 years. You have to remember that they don't know anything about welding, and you're going to come in talking very technical. You're going to have to remember to talk to them as if you're beginning welding again, so that they don't get too intimidated and want to come back. And then also Like, I know it sounds really stupid. Provide them spaces for themselves. Like, we're women. We need certain, like, a clean, maybe a separate bathroom. That would be nice. Like, I know it sounds really crazy, but even in my own shop here, the first thing I did was clean the bathroom and make sure it's approachable for women, because we sit down. It's a thing. You know what I mean? I know it sounds crazy, but I had this job in Arkansas where it was a male bathroom, and I had to have somebody standing literally outside of the toilet because there was no door, because I've never had women on site, and it was filthy, and I did not want to come back. Like, I had to go to like the Mexican restaurant across the street and basically to have like a decent facility. You know, like, people advocate for women, but when you get there, it's not necessarily an appealing place for them. And we don't, obviously it's a shop environment, you don't have to have, like white floors or whatever the heck, like something just, you would hope your daughter would be okay to come in and not feel intimidated and not get like, dirt on her behind. You know what I mean? Like, those type of things really do matter.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that I probably need to clean up my shop a little bit. It's a little bit hardcore.
I mean, it's a shop, you know what I mean? But it's those small things, like, you don't necessarily always sit on the toilet. And if you do, you're not thinking about, like, every time we do, we have to, move away the muck, or, hopefully, like in my former shop at the college, there was a facility for women and there's a facility for men. But I would even go into the men's, just in case, it was full for the women, to make sure it was clean and there's towels and, they have a space to put away, their bag. Women sometimes carry purses, just stuff like that. You don't think about as a man, to make sure that women are also welcome here. You don't need to kiss their butt, but, just make sure that when they come in, they know that they're welcome here.
Nice.
For the record, I never used the bathroom at my old shop. I always used the one across the street because it was so bad. It's not just girls that want
awful. That's awful. It's funny. The first thing I did when we got the keys to this place was I cleaned the bathroom. Like, I was like, I'm going to make sure women are coming here. They're not going to worry about getting some type of, like, infection on their anything. So it is what it is. It's habit,
Stainless steel toilets being built, right? There's a project for you, Andrew. Stainless steel.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, luckily, in the high school, I don't deal with any of that. That's all the school. Like, woof.
Mm-hmm.
But I can totally understand what you're saying. I don't blame you. Now let's see. What else is going on? Like, do you want to give us an update, some future projects, stuff we should look out for?
So hopefully the plan right now is to get the school accredited within a year so that I can be utilize more of the grants, because I've probably applied for a grant, I don't know, once or twice a week since I opened the doors, and I'm not a lot of them are not open for me because I'm not accredited yet. So that's the plan, is to make sure that I get the school accredited so that we can have more funds here, because this is all self-funded. And then we are working the Welding Women Syndicate into a business plan. So hopefully in the works right now is to open up a syndicate also in Canada. And then I just joined Latinas Welding Guild out of Indiana. So visibility and marketing will also be the key for women in the welding industry. So lots of stuff happening right now.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I think I tuned into that episode, Latinas Welding, because the whole district I work in it's all Latin. So I was like, okay, well, I should probably tune into this one. That was a good one, and that's pretty cool. So I know it's pretty awesome what you're doing. Imagine if this thing was all over the country. Jeez, I think it's needed.
Well, there's other companies doing it, just not enough. You know what I mean? Like, there's, what is it, between 5 and 7%. I think that's actually reaching on the percentage of women in the trades. And when I first began the Welding Women Syndicate, there was nowhere I could go to that I could like look up the schools or talk to somebody about their experiences or just talk about the highs and lows of being a woman in the industry. So I created it. So I've seen like a lot more women-based type organizations popping up. So it's certainly needed because everything is centered around men. I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? And if we're going to have more welders in the industry, women weld just as good, you know, and it's just definitely a very under represented demographic. So hopefully, and I won't say hopefully because everything I say I do, will be growing exponentially very, very soon. So I can't wait to see that part.
Now, something I'll tell you that would be interesting. Have you thought about like a welding clothing line? And the reason I mention it is because, you know, the clothing that I get for the students to weld with, it doesn't fit the girls. So actually I found Jesse Combs had a line with Lincoln. And the gloves fit better, and the jackets fit better, and the helmets look cool. And it makes a difference when I tell the story of like if I hold the glove in my hand and I say, "Do you know who Jesse Combs is?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Okay." I don't tell them the tragic ending yet. I just tell them, well, she's the fastest woman on wheels, and she was a really good welder. She was on TV and whatnot. And this is her glove. And I hand it to them. And they put it on and they go, wow, it fits, you know? And I'm like, yeah, at first I see if it fits because it doesn't fit everybody. So there's a super small size and then a small size. But this is totally different fit than like even a medium on the guy size. The fingers drip, you know? So, yeah. So have you thought about women's welding gear at all?
Yeah, of course. And it's funny because I actually had one of the first things that was brought into the shop were small and mediums from certain companies to just make sure that I accommodated, smaller hands. And it's funny because if you go to a welding supply company and just randomly look, they do not carry small and medium. It's always large and extra large. And I would ask them, and this is across the country, from North Carolina to California, do you carry a small? No, we don't necessarily have it. So that's something I actually carry in-house. Not necessarily my brand, but certain companies like Weldmonger, he carries it, which is Jody Collier. So I made sure I have like stubbies for TIG welding and for MIG welding because I actually had students who brought it up to me. They're doing their certification process and they're wearing these massive gloves during flux core. And she was like, do you have anything smaller? And I never thought about it because I always carry my own gear and I never put on the kids' gear. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, it's too big. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I had actually recorded that during a story. And Jody sent me small gloves for the students, small TIG, MIG, and stick gloves. And I was like, imagine if you had the proper fitting gloves in the beginning of the class. This was already at the very end when they're doing their certifications. And I was like, holy hell. So the first thing I did was to have them shipped here to make sure that I accommodated smaller sizes. It's a process. I try to make sure that I'm in tune with all the companies that provide smaller PPE, but that's just one more thing to do right now. Yeah. It's certainly in the works, but we have a clothing line with Welding Women's Syndicate, but gloves and stuff like that, that's certainly a necessity. So I have them on hand, but to rebrand them for myself right now, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I'm so stretched thin right now.
Oh, don't worry. I know you're so busy.
Yeah. But it's definitely a necessity because when you just go into it, like any type of supply, you're not accommodated for. You have to just be creative with what you're doing. You have to put a cotton glove underneath your small glove to make sure. And it's funny because I don't think about it. I'm 5'9". Like I wear a large glove, so I'm like, what? What do you mean? Oh, you short people. You know what I mean? I forget. That's the reason why I completely I didn't think of it with my students, and she was like, these are massive, and she did a fantastic job. But I was thinking, well, good grief, if she had better fitting gloves the beginning of the class, imagine how much better she was.
Actually, it's not just the girls. You know, some of the guys have smaller guys have small hands, and then they don't.
Sure.
You can't weld with a glove that's dripping off your fingers. It's not really
That
safe.
is so true.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even something I had thought about until I actually went through our supplies. Like, oh my gosh, you know, this is all we have to offer. I never thought about it.
Excuse me, Tiffany.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I had a few questions. Can you see me all right?
Yeah, you just speak a little louder. Go ahead.
Okay. So first question, you briefly mentioned it before, but how did you learn welding? Like, how did you set forth on that career path?
So I actually walked into a shop that I was dating the owner of a guy who built custom suspension, and he was in a car club, and I was in the same car club. And I walked in, and I never left. I literally never left. I was actually in real estate before, and then I was a stockbroker before. I was supposed to be a psychologist before that, and I loved automotive. I was always in car clubs. It was just kind of a thing as growing up, but you know, life kind of detours. When I walked into the shop, it was such a gracious introduction, you know, like I would come over and then he would, you know, I would get a little closer to what he was building and he'd be like, hand me that wrench. And then next time it was, here, take the grinder. And then after that, I was training people. And then I was full on. He just handed me the MIG gun. He literally just said, here, you saw me do it. Do it. And I loved it. It wasn't the best introduction, and there wasn't very much instruction. I just learned it. And I never left. It was the first time I ever felt like this is where I was supposed to be. And I just ran with it. I started building the cars, and then I built my own shop in Arkansas. And then I went to college for it to get more a formal education. And then I learned another process, which took me into structural. And then I started teaching. And then I started teaching college level and then having now my own school. Like it was just a crazy evolution, you know, just a place where I actually felt like I was happy because, I mean, I was happy in real estate, it's big money, you know, and I was happy doing stockbroking and it was fine. But it wasn't where I felt like I was supposed to be. You know what I mean? Welding, even with the lack of introduction or the lack of education, it was where I felt like the happiest at. And I'm always wrenching on something. Like I literally have grease right now on my fingernails. So it's just, that's how it works.
That's dope. What are some of your like biggest welding jobs that you can think of off the top of your head?
Biggest? I don't know about biggest because I helped build I helped build a plant out of Louisiana. That was one of my like biggest structural jobs we did in addition to the air gas facility out of Louisiana. My most favorite was building on a famous, he's like one of the original hot rodders in fabrication. His name is Gene Winfield. And I got to redo the air ride on his Cadillac. That was probably my most famous job.
That's a big deal.
Cool.
It was a big deal because I've been a fan since I was like, you know, born. So that was pretty cool. And then actually teaching and watching my students certify, that's probably my most gratifying job. I absolutely love it. And anytime I can show anybody any trick, tip, or see them get certified, that's super rad.
That's dope. And I have another question because I'm currently like learning in Mr. G's advanced class in his high school. What kind of weld is best for which job? Like I hear TIG is the strongest, but it's not always preferred.
Oh, right. So, okay, I'll just kind of break it down this way. It's going to be for whatever. Okay, so I'm working on a 1940 LaSalle. We'll just call it a Cadillac. That's basically what it is. But I couldn't MIG weld on the axle. For some reason, it's freaking old, you know, like it's 150 years old. I know I'm being dramatic, but it's so dirty. I couldn't get it clean enough to get a proper MIG weld in. So then I TIG welded it. But then I had big metal that I made one of the mounts for. So I stick welded it. And then I MIG welded. I took the control arms off and I MIG welded plates for the air ride. So, you know what? It's just going to be variant on your size of your metal and how you can get in because TIG welding, it's beautiful. It's clean. It's you know, but I was actually TIG welding underneath the Cadillac, right? But my pedal didn't reach all the way to where I was at. so it wasn't the most ideal setup. And I had my girlfriend. She's hitting the pedal as I'm telling her go. So I could weld on the axle. And then there was certain times where I couldn't get like the MIG gun into a cup. So then I'd have to stick weld it. So like it just basically it's going to be like your metal, what size of the metal, how hot it's going to burn through, what your access to. Because I'm thinking like I have to do floor pans in a Dodge. And I'm like, holy hell, how am I going to TIG weld these in, and do all the things? So I'm going to have to MIG weld it. So learn them all, because I guarantee you're going to need them.
So it varies between jobs.
It definitely does vary. Yeah.
Oh, and what's your favorite? It sounds like stick.
Stick is my favorite. Yeah. Stick is my favorite.
I haven't tried TIG, but between MIG and stick, I definitely prefer stick.
I love stick only because it sings to me when it comes to like how loud it is, and I love working with big metal. But TIG welding, like I love working on titanium. I love working on aluminum. I love working on stainless. So there's a rod for doing that too if it wants to be stick welding, but you can't necessarily stick weld on like 20 gauge metal. It's just not going to work.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to TIG weld, whether you like it or not. There's always going to be one process that you're going to lean toward. It doesn't necessarily have a place in the shop. So it's TIG and MIG mostly in the shop.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Chris does a good job. But like now I'm in trouble because I didn't show him TIG yet. And now I know he's going to ask about this tomorrow. So it's
crazy to go from stick to TIG though. You're going to add one more aspect, which is the foot. And to me, it was super frustrating. I was like, what is this? What is this? And now, like, I do it left foot, I do it right foot, I do it left hand, I do it right hand. Like, you just make it work. Once you learn one process, I think it's easier to learn another. You just have to get past like that awkward stage, and maybe you absolutely love it. I hate it, but I'm always doing it seems like now, so I got to learn to love it.
So he doesn't know how the TIG situation works, but I'll just fill him in. Is that Chris, you know how sometimes we're not sure what heat setting we should put it, how many amps we should, sometimes we're like, oh, that seems a little hot, it didn't really go well, let's turn it down, let's see if we could do it there. Okay, now imagine you could do that on the fly with a foot pedal. You could change the amount of amps on the fly, like while you're welding, you're pressing down on a pedal. That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
You're doing it with your foot. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, that was good, Chris. Thanks for those questions. That was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Now let's see. You know what I wanted to ask you was, okay, here's a funny question from a teacher to a teacher. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, and when it comes to the hood, right? Your welding helmet, I used to give them the passive helmets and have them flip down. And I got tired of the complaints. And so now I'm auto dark all the way.
Yes.
Am I being too easy?
No, I am with you. Look, I learned with a fixed shade, right? And I actually have it tattooed on my arm is the one that I use because I absolutely love it. And I think you learn better, but we are now in a society where we want instant gratification. And I actually learned with this one of the past classes that we had half and half. Half of them had fixed, half of them had auto shades. And they're like, we can't see. And I was like, give it a minute. We got to strike an arc. So not all of them had the flip up. So now I've gotten 2 more flip ups. And the next class we had, they're like, it's very difficult. And so, like I said before, I do not want an intimidation factor. Right. So I'm not sure that people are ready to learn like old school ways, especially we have the luxury of, the auto shades. And I've noticed too, like some of the lenses, like I just tried them all on and I was like, well, you can't see through certain ones. So they have to constantly flip it up and down and flip it up and down. And so they're like getting frustrated, which I'm trying to eliminate. So now it's just going to be all auto because
Yeah,
like I just don't want that factor. You know what I mean?
I gave up. I'm all auto. I gave up completely.
Right.
You know, and so just so people know what we're talking about is, you know, this would be, I'm showing a passive helmet right here. It's literally just a clear lens, and then there's a shade number 10. It would be kind of similar, like imagine your sunglasses, but like times 10. So it's kind of just like it's like a you know, I guess I can't even really show it, but basically it's like a really dark sunglasses, and it only allows you to see the brightest spot. And then there's probably another like plastic clear in case this breaks so it doesn't shatter in your face or anything like that. But nowadays it automatically tints with a battery, like instantly, and you can adjust it on the fly. You could just set it however you want. You know,
you know what I see? Here's the one problem, and I got those poncho welding masks, and it's just basically the goggles with the leather hood, right? So I couldn't get into one of the wheels of the Cadillac, and so I have a Miller, what the hell is it, P90, T90, super dope hood, right? I couldn't get it in, so I had to put on the mask, and the only issue I had was because it was just a fixed shade 10. I didn't have anything darker. I couldn't TIG weld with it, so I had to like maneuver myself like an acrobat around the axle to get access. So like there's a time and place, just like processes, also with hoods. So I think it's important to introduce them, at least let them know that this is what it is, and you may have to use it because you can kind of scrunch up some of them. But definitely ease of use when teaching the auto for sure.
Yeah, totally. Where's Chris? Is he still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Chris, you not for nothing, but you're spoiled, dude. You got a really nice, what is it, Lincoln or Miller, like top of the line?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like using the passive? I know we have them.
Yeah, because the problem because I have long hair, so I need to tie it, of course, and the bun gets in the way, so it's all like that. It just falls over. And when you got me,
yeah.
When he would flip down, it would fall off his head.
Yeah, well, just because I wouldn't be able to put it on correctly with the bun in the way, and I wasn't gonna cut my hair. But when you got me the electric one, it was a lot better. It's just I didn't have to do anything. I just keep it on all the time. It was awesome.
That's funny. Andrew, do you have passive or do you have auto, or is it mixed?
Most students will get the auto darkening. A couple students, sometimes they'll like start out and they'll get a passive helmet that costs like $20 or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then they quickly realize what a mistake it was. And I try and
Right.
like one of the things that I tell them is like, it's a struggle because I have like 11th and 12th graders, and some of them like they're not going to be welders, or they want to be welders, or they might be in auto mechanics, so they don't want to spend that upfront cost. So they'll end up getting like something from Harbor Freight or something like that, which is fine and it works. But what I try and tell them is like, you know, through my pain, I'll tell you straight up, buy once, cry once. Buy the best thing that you possibly can at that time. And if the best thing you could possibly get is the one from Harbor Freight, that's fine. It's gonna work fine for you. It's not an issue. But essentially, if you could get, and you know you're gonna be a welder, then try and get something that is more comfortable than a traditional headgear. So as helmets get better and technology gets better, that the actual part that sits on your head, there's usually just like one strap over the top and then one around. So like it's one plastic piece, and it can be uncomfortable. And now, depending on the different companies, like I know Optrel and all these other ones, they have like 5 different, like literally if you take your hands and you connect them, it like sits on like all these different points in your head. So you're more comfortable. And everybody's first rule of welding is always be comfortable. The ABCs of welding.
Right.
So the more comfortable your helmet is, the better your weld's going to turn out, because you're not pissed off at your helmet that it doesn't fit or you can't fit into a wheel well. Stuff like that. So yeah. So like that's like the pipeliner type helmet that
I'm showing like
Yeah.
an old school pipeliner one. It looks
Yeah.
like the Minions or whatever. It's like a cartoon or something.
Yeah, so some of my students actually liked those, because retro is kind of always
They're
in style
cool.
in a way.
Yeah.
And I have one of those, one similar like that, and it actually has an auto darkening shade
really?
within that.
Yes. I have that for mine too. They're super cool. And it
Yeah.
flips up. I'm super fancy.
Yeah. Yep. So those are pretty sweet.
But it wasn't cheap though, you know what I mean? Like it's
No.
like super fancy leather. It's got the auto shade and a flip. I wouldn't suggest it to students if they're not necessarily knowing whether they're going to invest in this career or not. But that's something I've been in it for a long time and I like indulged and I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, when Mark Willie was in high school, he said he's not getting his hair cut either.
Uh-oh.
Got him.
Remember that the next time if your hair burns, I had a cohort and I had really, really long hair. And one of the classes, they were just wild. And I was in there, watching one of their welds and I literally saw one of the sparks jump into my hood and I'm still watching. I didn't move and I could smell my hair burning and I had to cut it off. And ever since I've had it about shoulder length.
Mine's still above shoulder length.
Well,
Speaking about that, what do you guys feel about the video trainers? I know like a lot during the COVID, a lot of these, shops still wanted to have the hands-on access, but they weren't able to have hands-on. So a lot of these companies came up with the virtual trainers, welders. And I think a lot of the Votech schools have them too.
I've never used them.
I think it's nice to have as an extra. I don't think that you can learn from watching videos. I think you have to have that hands-on as well. We had a hybrid program during COVID, so it was 80% in shop and then 20% program. But just strictly watching videos, like how are you going to, learn the smells or the sounds or, the motions by watching a video? It's almost impossible, right? Like it's possible to know welding and then watch a video and kind of like adapt to what they're doing, but not to just straight learn from it, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. I always tell people you can't read how to ride a bicycle.
Yeah.
It's good familiarity though. Lately, I did a review with a friend who did worked on a video game. He worked on it, but he played a video game for auto mechanics. It's not bad as kind of like an overview. He gets the language. He's seeing where all the parts go. But obviously, you could like try and do a bicycle simulation. But when we put you on a bicycle, you're not going to know how to balance. So. I would say it's probably a good introduction. I mean, I got yeah, there you go. I started because I saw Monster Garage and Jesse James was welding all this stuff, and I was like, oh my God. What I liked about it was he wasn't asking permission. Like he didn't have to like go to college or get some sort of architecture degree. He was just like, okay, this is what it's going to look like. All right, what you're going to work on the hood. I'm going to work on the tail. I'm going to, and they just start doing
We're going to figure it out. Right.
Yeah. So
I love it.
So, but it's true. Like then you start welding. You're like, okay, I do this. And then your welds look like, it's a highly technical term, like bird shit welding, it just looks like, it's just like
very technical,
like a bunch of popcorn has been laid into the joint and it's no good. And you really it takes time to do it. The videos are good if you're already there. So
yes, I agree.
Yeah. What do you think, Andrew?
I have, the Miller mobile arc or augmented arc welder thing. I have the smaller ones just for MIG welding right now.
Cool. What's going on?
With a couple of the grants that I won. I wrote them not thinking, like, when you write grants and you keep losing, you just you figure out something that you think they might invest in. And apparently virtual reality augmented arc welding is one of those things. So I won a couple other grants with the American Welding Society. And
do you use them, and does it work stuff. And do you like them?
So the problem is that I got them halfway through the year.
Oh.
Which the students use them briefly. So like they already know how to weld, and they're not necessarily meant to teach them, like, if you know how to weld, then they're not really that beneficial unless you're struggling with a certain aspect of the theory. And if you don't know the theory of welding with your voltage or amperage or wire feed speed, like your travel angle, your work angle, how fast if you don't know any of that, or you struggle with one of those, then the virtual reality welder can help you. But if you don't know any of that stuff yet, and you've never welded before, and you learn for the first couple days on one of these augmented arc reality welders, it will reinforce some of the theory that you teach during the year, or that you try and teach, and you try and get it ingrained in their head in real life. It teaches them that before they even get a real welding torch in their hand, or a MIG gun, or a TIG torch, and all that stuff. So in a way, like, welding's on muscle memory, and it's just introducing the muscle memory to them correctly. Like, the way I ended up selling it is, like, you could introduce it to so many more people without the arcs and the sparks, where safety is a huge concern for a lot of people. You could get people hood time without introducing a lot of the safety related factors that a lot of people are concerned about. And even with, like, growing welding, with like the virtual reality and like all the robots and all that type of stuff, if you could get a kid that's into video games into the welding career path, where they might be able to run a robot at the end of the day, and they like video games, then it might be an ideal situation where if you didn't have that, or they didn't have the opportunity to use that, then they might never have gotten into the welding industry. And I know we're struggling for welders around the country, and not only just welders, just like good welders, like welders that are proficient and know what they're talking about and know how to weld. Everybody could weld that has a welder now, but the quality isn't there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they don't give a fighter pilot a jet, right? You train in simulators.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to see when your next program starts how this works as the initiator, because I think it totally makes sense getting a mid-year. How are you going to do it? Yeah. I did like that they actually wore gloves in it, but I think it was Tiffany that said early onset, like, how do you adjust to smells and odors, right? Because this is also a false pretense that the world's rosy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. Cool. All right, this is pretty cool. I think we covered a lot here. Let me see. I think I got sent another virtual link. That was good. Thanks, Duke, for sending that. Let's pull. Oh, here's the Lincoln. This might be the Lincoln one. Here's a simulator. Oh, it's only $72,000. No big deal.
Only. I'll take two.
Free shipping.
So that's why I ended up going with the Miller system, actually.
Oh, really?
The Miller system is like augmented. So if you don't know what that is, like, I wasn't really paying attention. When you put it's literally just like a Motorola phone, hooked up to a welding helmet, and then it actually takes video of what you're looking at, and then it has a piece that you put in front of it that
That's
has like
cool.
that has QR codes or something like that, and it essentially takes the two pieces that you have in front of you, and it converts that when you're looking through the helmet into a piece of metal, and then it's able to adapt and figure out your angles and stuff. So all those different pieces, they like turn into a piece of metal once you flip the hood down. But when you look around you, you could still see all of your friends and all the desks and the classroom. So it's not like flipping into a different world. You're flipping into your classroom and welding on your desk.
That's amazing. This is like
That's rad.
yeah.
And
I like referring to it as a video game. That's something that a lot of people can relate to. I'm gonna have to use that because I certainly want to look into getting one. So I think it's a great tool. I haven't had too much access to them, but this conversation and another one I had out of Georgia for a school that had it, I want to use it. I think that there's a way to adapt it and not make it weird, because there's certain tangible aspects that you definitely have to have, but as a tool to help with it, oh my God, that's so cool. Wow. I didn't even know it did that.
So we're looking at a video while we're talking to you. Andrew, is this what it looks like with all these diagrams of like?
Yeah. So essentially there's like the little slide.
Is that
it's just telling you
length?
if you're your arc length, if it's too close, too far away, and then there's the circle that will tell you if your travel angle or your work angle is correct or incorrect. And essentially you could replay it at the end of the day. Like, so after you put down a weld, you could hit replay and go over it with the student. So say the student got an 80 something, you could go over it and kind of evaluate what went right and what went wrong with the student. Because that's one of the hard things is when you weld in real life, it's hard to replay and say what happened 2 inches in. Right. It looks like garbage at that point, and then it looks great for an inch, and then it went terrible, and then it went great.
Right.
So that's one of the issues that I'm hoping this will hopefully solve, as in you kind of understand the theory before you jump into the shop, because even when they kind of understand the theory and they know how to do it, they kind of forget the theory because they already know how to do it. Meanwhile, the theory, the basics, is what really makes a great welder, is knowing what's going on with the machine and your heat and your voltage and all that type of stuff when you're welding.
This is
right.
Cool. Hey,
we're going to have to do another conversation about just this. Like, I'm so interested here.
Yeah, Andrew, if you get this thing set up, I would love to come up there. First of all, it'd be great to meet you in person, but also I'd love to get a go at this, man.
All right. So thanks to all of the increased prices and all that stuff, we're waiting on the bigger one. So the video that you're watching right now, with the MIG, TIG, and stick, we're waiting on that one to come in, but we do have 5 of just the MIG welder ones, which is like the smaller version of what you're seeing on the video right now, which is nice because the idea of me selling and writing a grant, if anybody needs help writing a grant for these, if you're going to go to other schools that send students to you, you could just bring these packages with you, do your little speech about welding and how it impacts the local community and the country and all that stuff. And if anybody wants to try it, you could just, pop out the little welding hood essentially with the augmented arc with the small little setup, and you could just have everybody try it out. So I go to craft fairs.
That's a great idea.
So since I go to craft fairs, I was going to go and do a couple of them with some students more local to my school, not necessarily local to my house at some point. And then essentially kind of sell it to the community and show them what we're doing and all that type of stuff, and they can actually see it in real life almost, and try it
That's
for
a good
themselves.
idea. Yeah.
So
Where are you located, Andrew?
I'm in New York.
Have
I
it
live in
perfect
Connecticut.
for the maker fair, right? For the people intimidated.
What was that?
The maker camp that those guys do.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be perfect for the folks that are intimidated, right? It's a trial run.
Yeah.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
heard about
Oh.
this other augmented reality app called The Last Italian. Have you heard of that one?
This is a joke.
Wait a second. My wife might be listening. Let me turn the volume down.
Oh, that's Ron. That's Ron's buddy from the class that he does. His
Oh.
ID handle is The Last Italian.
Oh yeah, that's Sal. Yeah, Sal. He's a good
Oh,
welder,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah, how about bringing that thing out at a school board meeting? Letting the
Oh,
board
yeah.
members try that. You'll be
Yes.
they're
Yeah. So
wondering
I mean,
about passing the budget, they get hands on just like that. That's sold right there.
Mhm.
yeah. And I mean, like it seems to be like what a lot of companies can visualize, at least if you're trying to write a grant. They do see the benefit of it, I guess. I don't know if it was just how I wrote it, but two of the grants that I got, one of them was for the bigger version, that we're watching, and that's with all three processes. And that's, I think, at the time it was 23 grand. I think it's 26 grand or something right now.
For each unit?
For one.
Wow. How much was
And-
the ones that you have?
The smaller ones are nice. So like, even if you're just starting off or want to try it out, the mobile arc ones are only like 3 grand. I say
Oh,
only. I know it's not only, but
No,
when we're
but with
talking,
school money, that's like reasonable.
That's
you
a
know?
lot more digestible than 20,000, though.
yeah, which is a lot more
Certainly
digestible than 70 grand from
Right.
the other
You got to
one.
start somewhere, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So
And then it justifies it once people get the idea. I love where you're going with this.
Oh.
Awesome.
Yeah, no kidding. Andrew, can you send me a link to that $3,000 one, because I might be able to get one for next year. That would be really good.
yeah,
And then also it's what, like, see, what I like about it is it takes a factor. Like when you're a shop teacher, you got 3 problems, liabilities. Okay. You got the kid could get hurt or whatever. Somebody could get hurt. The machine, you could break the machine, or you could ruin the material you're working with. But with this, it's just a game. You don't even have to watch them. Just let them rip.
I love this.
Yeah.
You should check that thing on the Jimmy Fallon show.
Everybody's going to be a welder now.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's so rad.
This is pretty cool. All right. Well, it's getting kind of late. I mean, this was pretty good. This was, Tiffany, thanks so much time. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you. Like, I just got so much information right now. I'm so stoked.
No, it's great. I mean, that's the whole idea, is to share info, and we always have good people joining us. Yeah, thanks a lot. And I hope Angela got something out of it, and Chris got something out of it. Those are the students on the line, and we got shop teachers on the line, and this will be great. And Tiffany, I'm definitely going to come visit you. That'll be cool.
Sweet. Will you send me the link to when you have the podcast up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be about a day, and that's it. Yeah, it doesn't take long. I
right
just
on.
go direct. Very
Cool. Good deal. Well, I appreciate you.
All
it was
right.
nice meeting you guys.
And Angela just put in the chat. She said that she learned so much and that she appreciates it.
Good deal. Good deal.
All right.
I love it.
All right. So, all right. And again, thank you for your time. I know you're super busy. Like, I don't know anybody more busy than you. So it's like,
we're all busy in our own. I just go too much sometimes, but it's worth it. I'm having a good time, man.
Oh, and don't forget, we got Riley as well. Thanks, Riley, for coming in here. And we got Nick, shop teacher, and Mark Willie, tradesman, and we got Andrew, and we got Duke. This was great. So
thanks for making it work. Our first phone-in podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
I know. Sorry about just the phone part.
No, it's all good. All good.
Now,
No,
right on.
This time phone in.
Just phone it in. Except you got to use a rotary phone. You got to kind of.
Rotary. I'm so sad that I know what that is.
Me too. Me too. These young kids.
All right, guys. Well, I'm driving now, so I got to get off of here.
All right. All right. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.
All right. Have a great night.
Okay. So end the recording here.